Made to Stick, Why Some Ideas. Survive and Others Die by Chip Heath. Have you ever thought about how some stories seem to be tattooed in our memory, while others vanish as if they were just a breath of wind? Immerse yourself in a fascinating exploration with Made to Stick. This journey reveals to us the secrets of the indelible imprint that some ideas leave on our minds and how we can ensure that our ideas conquer the same destiny. In a world where great ideas constantly collide with the wall of indifference and where unsubstantiated stories spread like wildfire, what determines the survival of an idea? Stay until the end, and you will discover not only how to transform a simple thought into an unforgettable concept, but also how to apply these principles in your daily life, work, and passions. Concrete strategies and success stories that will inspire you to leave a mark in the world. World with your ideas. World. Made to Stick introduces us to the concept of stickiness of ideas. That is, that quality that makes certain stories so adherent to our minds that they become almost impossible to forget. Let's think, for example, of the phenomenon of adulterated candy during Halloween in America. This urban legend spoke of criminals who, during the witch's night, distributed sweets containing harmful substances or even razor blades to unsuspecting children. Despite the absence of concrete evidence confirming such acts of sabotage, the fear generated by this story was so palpable that it terrified millions of parents. But what makes such a baseless story so difficult to eradicate from popular belief? The book reveals that memorability and people's tendency to actively share these stories are the pillars on which the stickiness of an idea stands. It is therefore possible to shape any concept so that it becomes viral and takes root deeply in the collective imagination. An emblematic example of how effective communication can transform a technical notion into a powerful message is the campaign against the use of coconut oil in cinema popcorn. Initially, informing the public that an average bag of popcorn contained 37 grams of saturated fat had no significant effect. It was too abstract a fact to shock the conscience. The breakthrough came when campaigners made the message more tangible and impressive by comparing the fat content of an average serving of popcorn to that of an entire day's worth of notoriously fatty meals. This vivid depiction struck people's imagination, generating such a strong impact that it led to the replacement of coconut oil in cinema chains. This video book is a summary of the original work. You can find the complete book published by the author at the link in the description of this video. Before continuing with the viewing, we ask you to support us by subscribing to the channel and activating the bell. Stay with us until the end of the video and let us know what you think. Thank you. In the confusing world we live in, where every day we are inundated with a sea of information, how do we ensure that an idea not only emerges, but takes root deeply in people's minds? The answer is surprisingly simple. To make an idea unforgettable, it must be simple. It might seem counterintuitive, right? Instinct pushes us to infuse our ideas with every nuance, every detail in an attempt to convey their richness. Yet, it is precisely this complexity that becomes our greatest enemy. When an idea gets lost in a maze of details, its beating heart risks fading into oblivion. Imagine carving the essence of an idea into a single sentence, a statement as clear as it is powerful. This is the art of simplification. It is not about flattening the idea to the point of banalness, but about distilling its essence so that it resonates universally, understandable to anyone without losing its strength. This is not an easy task. It requires deep reflection and precise expression. Yet, when an idea is reduced to its purest expression, it becomes like a seed capable of germinating in minds, growing and spreading easily. Look to journalists, masters of the art of condensing complex stories into punchy headlines. An effective title has the power to capture attention and encourage reading, conveying the essence of an article with a few carefully chosen words. An uninspired title, on the other hand, can condemn even the most brilliant article to indifference. A prime example of effective simplification in business is Southwest Airlines' slogan, "The Low Fare Airline." These few words contain a promise, a declaration of identity that is imprinted in the memory. A detailed price analysis, no matter how accurate, would never have the same emotional and mnemonic impact. So here's the secret. For an idea to stick, it must be simple. It's not just a matter of easy understanding, but of emotional resonance. When we can communicate the pure essence of an idea, that idea gains the power to live in people's minds and hearts, transforming into something truly unforgettable. Our brain is an incredibly efficient machine that loves to save energy, so much so that it often goes into autopilot. This mode allows him to let information flow without actually recording it, especially when it involves familiar or predictable data. But when something unexpected bursts onto the scene, the brain snaps into alert, abandons autopilot, and activates manual control. It's the surprise effect that captures all our attention. Think of a flight attendant starting the usual pre-flight safety demonstration. Regular passengers, accustomed to speech, hardly pay attention, immersed in their own thoughts or distracted by their devices. But imagine their reaction if suddenly the assistant broke the routine with a completely out-of-the-ordinary quip like, "While there may be 50 ways to leave your lover, there's only one way to get off. From this plane." At that moment, everyone's attention would be captured, hanging on his lips. This phenomenon underlines a fundamental aspect of human nature. We tend to almost automatically ignore what appears routine or predictable to us. However, by presenting an idea in an unexpected or surprising way, we give it the power to rise above the background noise, giving it the attention it deserves. It is this element of surprise that makes an idea not only heard, but also permanent, because it stimulates curiosity and interest, inviting our brain to actively engage and remember. Navigating everyday life on autopilot is a common practice for many of us, who proceed with the belief that we already know everything we need to get through the day. Yet, there is an incredibly effective method for capturing and holding people's attention: exploiting curiosity gaps. This approach is based on a simple but powerful principle: highlight what people don't yet know, sparking an immediate need in them to find out more. This revelation shakes them from their autopilot state, creating a void in their understanding that they feel the urgent need to fill. Curiosity thus becomes a driving force that pushes them to actively engage in the search for answers. Mystery novels are masters of the art of creating and manipulating these gaps of curiosity, designing a plot full of mysteries, seductive clues, and red herrings that invite the reader to constantly ask, "Who is the killer?" This same technique is also skillfully exploited in the world of gossip magazines, where the art of insinuating intriguing questions onto the front page has proven to be an effective lever for stimulating sales. And what is more intriguing than a surprising fact or data to trigger this process? Presentations and speeches that begin with unexpected statements, such as, "Why do 40% of our customers represent only 10% of our total sales?" manage to capture the audience's attention, arousing such strong curiosity that it makes them greedy of knowledge. Curiosity gaps aren't just a critical ingredient for compelling stories or successful articles. They represent a precious tool for anyone who wishes to make an idea not only heard, but truly assimilated and remembered. By creating a bridge between the unknown and the innate desire to know, you open the door to deep and meaningful involvement, making the idea unforgettable. When we speak or convey a concept, we often take refuge in the comfort of abstraction, forgetting that what rings clear in our mind may appear as an inscrutable fog to others. It's a curious phenomenon that we tend to overlook. The more experts we become in a field, the more our explanations become colored with abstract terms, becoming enigmatic for those who don't share the same depth of knowledge. To illustrate this dynamic, let's recall a simple but revealing experiment. One person was asked to play the melody of a known song, such as Jingle Bells, with their fingers on a table, while another tried to guess the tune. The improvised musician, listening to the melody in his head, drastically overestimated the chances that the listener would be able to recognize the song, believing it was understandable 50% of the time. In reality, the success rate was only 2.5%. This gap in understanding vividly illustrates how our familiarity with a piece of information can obscure our ability to evaluate how accessible it is to others. Applying this principle to the communication of ideas means embracing concreteness and visual description. Words and phrases that evoke clear, tangible images not only make understanding easier, but are also more likely to be remembered and transmitted. Expressing oneself in concrete terms is equivalent to painting a picture in the listener's mind, where each trait contributes to forming an image that remains imprinted. For example, describing an action of exceptional customer service not as a vague providing exceptional customer service, but by showing the specific gesture of a salesperson refunding a t-shirt purchased at another branch makes the concept immediately palpable. Similarly, popular wisdom doesn't speak of a fox altering his tastes, but of one who, unable to reach the grapes, decides that they are too unripe. These concrete and detailed narratives easily take root in our memory, making the idea they carry alive and lasting. The art of making an idea permanent in the collective lies in the ability to translate abstract concepts into concrete and visually rich narratives. This approach not only ensures that the message is received and understood, but also amplifies its emotional and mnemonic resonance, ensuring its persistence across time and the shared space of our culture. For an idea to take root and spread, it must first be perceived as credible. Without credibility, ideas are discarded almost instantly, lacking the fertile ground needed to grow and proliferate. There are multiple ways through which an idea can earn the trust of its audience. An effective strategy is to draw on the authority of experts. However, the expert does not necessarily have to embody the stereotypical image of the doctor or scientist. Take, for example, a powerful anti-smoking campaign that highlighted a 30-year-old woman, a smoker since the age of 10, undergoing her second lung transplant. The visibly scarred appearance of this woman gave immediate and tangible credibility to the anti-smoking message. Testimonies from real people with authentic experiences and perceived as trustworthy resonate deeply with the audience, establishing a bridge of trust. Another way to enrich an idea of credibility is the use of data and statistics, as long as these contribute to building a clear and tangible image. It is essential to avoid the mistake of relying too heavily on abstract numbers, which risk confusing rather than clarifying. For example, a campaign against nuclear proliferation can highlight how the world's nuclear arsenal has 5,000 times the destructive power of the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. This comparison not only provides a concrete anchor, the well-known devastation of Hiroshima, but also invites reflection on the unimaginable scale of the nuclear threat, reinforcing the central message of the campaign. In addition, the audience is provided with a memorable and reusable fact, which facilitates the spread of the message. Incorporating the audience themselves into the idea validation process is a particularly powerful tactic for building credibility. Ronald Reagan's campaign appeal, which invited voters to ask themselves if they were in a better situation than 4 years earlier, exploits precisely this principle. People tend to trust their own personal judgment more than any external authority. Therefore, a message that directs them towards internal exploration becomes exceptionally persuasive. In summary, an idea that remains in the collective must be innovated with credibility, which is built through the authority of experts, the wise use of data and statistics, and by directly involving the public in the validation process. These elements, combined together, give the idea the strength to overcome skepticism and firmly implant itself in the collective consciousness. Emotional appeals possess a unique power, that of moving people to action, pushing them to make significant gestures. When it comes to stimulating generosity towards humanitarian causes, such as supporting hungry African children, two key strategies emerge. On the one hand, detailed data and figures can be presented, illustrating the broad spectrum of the crisis. Millions of hungry children, a daily number of deaths that shocks the conscience. This approach aims to stimulate the more analytical part of the mind. While the statistics are solid and credible, they rarely catalyze concrete action. The mind considers, evaluates, but often stops there, without translating knowledge into action. On the other hand, we can opt for a different narrative, more direct and intensely personal. The image of a single child, his eyes telling stories of need and desperation, a small being who could be snatched from death by an act of generosity. This image speaks directly to the heart, to our deepest emotions. It is a vision that we not only believe because it is tangible, but that powerfully pushes us to action. Emotions are the real driver of human behavior, much more than cold rational analyzers and statistics. Compassion, fear, hope. These are the levers that, once activated, inspire us to make a difference. Take anti-smoking campaigns, for example. Ads that show the devastating consequences of smoking on people's bodies and lives have a much stronger impact than those that rely on statistics and numbers. The images of people marked by illness speak directly to the soul, provoking an intense emotional response that cold figures cannot evoke. In summary, when the goal is to transform indifference into action, it is essential that the message touches people's hearts, leveraging emotions rather than focusing solely on data. Before we dive into the last part of this video book, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel. If this video has inspired you or given you food for thought, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and activate the bell so you don't miss any future updates. Thank you. An approach that evokes compassion, empathy, and human connection is infinitely more powerful in motivating people to take concrete steps towards change. Focusing on emotional stimuli, therefore, becomes crucial to creating effective and transformative campaigns. Emotional appeals touch the heart because they push us to look beyond the numbers, to connect with the stories and faces behind the statistics. However, there is an even stronger and more personal bond that can motivate people to action: their self-interest. Every time an action or decision is proposed to us, the natural question is, what's in it for me? A communication that manages to show a direct benefit for the recipient has a greater chance of success. It's not about selfishness, but about a deep understanding of how human motivation works. Take, for example, the launch of a new television model. Rather than simply listing technical specifications and features, it is more effective to illustrate how these innovations can concretely improve the daily customer experience. Imagining yourself on the sofa at home, immersed in an unprecedented visual and sound experience, makes the offer not only tempting, but almost indispensable. This strategy was brilliantly applied in the Don't Mess with Texas campaign, aimed at reducing youth littering. Using well-known and loved faces in Texas, such as local celebrities and athletes, the campaign created a sense of ownership and pride. The subliminal message was clear. Being a true Texan means respecting the land that belongs to you. Thus, young people were not only invited not to abandon waste, but were also induced to see this gesture as an affirmation of their identity and their bond with the community. In conclusion, to push the audience to action, it is essential to clearly show what benefit they will gain from fulfilling that communication. When people can see themselves benefiting personally, the motivation to take that step becomes much stronger. It is a call to action that speaks directly to the individual, making the message not just heard, but felt on a deeply personal level. Telling a story is like offering the brain a flight simulator, an experience that allows us to immerse ourselves completely in the action and imagine how we might behave when faced with similar situations. This approach not only captures attention, but also stimulates empathy and emotional connection, making ideas more impactful and long-lasting. Often, in trying to spread an idea, we make the mistake of abandoning stories in favor of short, catchy slogans. Slogans, while they can be effective in making a concept memorable, are often not enough to motivate concrete action. This is where the narrative power of stories comes into play, proving incomparably more effective. Take, for example, the case of Jared Fogle and the fast food chain Subway. The story of a man who radically transformed his life and body by adopting a diet of 2 Subway meals a day had a far deeper impact than any slogan could have had. Jared's personal story has not only captured the public's attention, but has also inspired many people to seriously consider a change in their lifestyle. The narratives that resonate most are those that follow archetypal patterns, easily recognizable and capable of arousing a wide range of emotions. A classic example is the David versus Goliath comparison, a metaphor of the struggle between the small and the powerful, which encourages belief in the possibility of overcoming imposing obstacles with determination and ingenuity. Another recurring theme is that of the Good Samaritan, where the altruistic gesture of helping a stranger in difficulty becomes a source of inspiration to promote more compassionate and supportive social behavior. Finally, stories that celebrate creativity, such as the anecdote of the apple falling on Newton's head, push people to look at the world from new perspectives and challenge conventional thinking. Stories have the unique power to transform ideas into movements, inspiring people not only to remember a concept, but to live it and make it their own through concrete actions. Telling a story means opening a window onto possibilities, inviting everyone to see themselves as protagonists of a possible and positive change. The beating heart of this book lies in a fundamental principle. It is possible to present every idea in such a way that it leaves an indelible mark. Whether we are talking about sensational success stories, revolutionary advertising campaigns, or concepts that have stood the test of time, there are distinctive elements common to all these ideas that remain imprinted in the collective memory. These elements are perfectly summarized in this way. Simple. Identify the pure essence of the idea. Distill the concept to its simplest core, keeping the message clear and direct. Unexpected. Capture attention by surprising the audience. Use the element of surprise to break routine and spark interest. Concrete. Make the idea tangible. Make sure the concept is easily imaginable and memorable by anchoring it in palpable images or examples. Credible. Provide a solid foundation for the idea. Use experts, authentic details, or demonstrations to build trust and convince. Emotional. Connect the idea to the feelings. Appeal to emotions to create a personal connection and give people a reason to care. Told. Narrate your concept. Create engaging stories that allow your audience to see the idea in action and imagine how it could impact their lives. Through these strategies, one can not only ensure that an idea is received and understood, but also that it is remembered and, more importantly, converted into action. It is the ability to transform abstract concepts into vivid, emotionally charged, and practically applicable messages that allows an idea to transcend simple communication, becoming a lasting influence in people's lives. Well, we have finished with this video. See you next time from Audiobooks to Listen to.